And the question I posed is, who is the most influential group in from the South ever? Rap group. Most influential group from the South ever. Now, I saw some names that were thrown around, but I kept seeing like the same 3 or 4. I saw 2 Live Crew. These are the ones I saw the most. 2 Live Crew, Ghetto Boys, Outkast, and I believe 8Ball and MJG, or maybe UGK. Those were the ones that I saw the most. And I'll come to you first, Jay Diff. You and I were having a conversation prior to coming on about influential versus best and the difference, and you were breaking that down, dropping science on that. But to that actual question, what do you think in terms of the most influential group? I saw 3 6 as well. 666 was on there a lot too. Most influential hip hop group in your personal opinion. Just taking everything into consideration.
Right. Now I want to be clear on this because
break it down.
Claiming or saying the best hip hop group does not have to mean that they are the most influential. And I think that's where people kind of cross the lines there. They want to tell you who their favorite group is versus who was the most influential in that area or that region. And if I'm going with my favorite group in the South, or ever really, it would be Outkast. If I have to tell you who my favorite group is. Now, as far as being the most influential group, you have to factor in who kind of try to mimic their style, who try to mimic their hustle, their drive, their ambition. When you're talking about something like that, you would almost have to go with the Ghetto Boys based on and they came up under rap a lot. Down south, a sound. When you think of Maja playing tricks on me, it kind of had that down south kind of sound. You know what I'm saying to it, or even like 8Ball MJG. I don't know who the most influential is down south.
It's a tough question, man. When you think about it,
it's such a melting pot down south that. You can go with P. You go with No Limit Records as far as being the most influential. If you want to be technical about it, it doesn't have to be your favorite, but just saying, I don't know who is the most influential.
That's what I'm saying because for me, I fall under the Outkast tree, and it's probably more because I know they're the best group to ever come out of South. It ain't even close, but that's not what we're talking about, right? So it's easy for me to just throw that out there because I'm such a big fan of theirs.
Exactly.
I do think they are. I think they are influential from a standpoint of showing people in the South that you can get recognition, and the South is actually dope. Like they really help put the South on the map.
Nobody can mimic that sound though. Nobody can mimic Outkast. So when you talk about influential, you have to actually hear the influence in these artists.
No,
so if we go to influential as far as production wise, I would have to almost go with Lil Jon.
See, my thing is going back through it and thinking about it. I'm not too sure that it's not 3 6 Mafia when you think about production. I'm talking about DJ Paul.
That's in the same realm as Lil Jon too, because it's that extra energy type sound. So I mean, if you're going with that, then
because
I can see 3 6.
I can see 3 6. I can see 3 6 more than I could see Ghetto Boys, because it's not influential. Doesn't mean most influential, right? Just because you first, that don't mean necessarily that you're gonna be the most influential. Right. I'm not saying the Ghetto Boy is not dope. I'm just saying what you said. We talked about sound, and like DJ Paul got a lot of kids running around here right now in 2021. Yeah, we're gonna keep it a buck, right?
It's true.
So I had to sit back and think about 3 6. Like they are there. Like they gotta be a finalist, if anything. Them. You know, I still hear elements of Pimp C production today, 2021. You know what I'm saying? So I had to think about that, man, and I don't know. 3-6 is it's tough, man. It's tough to keep them out of it. Now that I think about it, we'll jump into the chat here, and I'll see what what the chat's talking about as well. But Jay Moore, jump in there, man. Just based
It's
off
3-6 and it's not even close. It's 3-6 Mafia and it's not even close, because you got to understand, like, as somebody who's still out here in the club, I still hear the influence of 3-6 Mafia in 2020. When I hear Pooh Shiesty's Back in Blood, that's a 3-6 Mafia song. You know, when I hear, you know, certain things that Cardi B does, and that's somebody from the East Coast, that's 3-6 Mafia. I mean, like, she basically remade a Project Pat and LaChat song. When I hear someone like G-Eazy, who did a song with Cardi B, that's somebody from Oakland. That's the 3-6 Mafia. Like, you can play, like, 3-6 Mafia's music was so far ahead of its time that it's just now really getting the props it deserves. And now, like, that's legacy music for what's being made right now. Like, people are sampling 3-6 Mafia songs to make them, to make new records. Like, there's nobody, as far as, like, when you talk about just musicality, I mean, you know, I know everybody wants to get into lyrics and metaphysicals and all that. No, when we talk about what is moving the culture, nobody has a bigger influence coming out of the South than 3-6 Mafia, and it's not even close. And I love Outkast. I love the Ghetto Boys. But, you know, the thing is, what Outkast did, like, people couldn't even try to mimic that.
It's too good.
They were so much better than everybody, you know. And I'm not, and this is not to besmirch 3-6 Mafia, because I felt like when I put out my year-end list last year, like, Juicy J's album was in my top 10 because I felt like, okay, what he's doing what he's always been doing, but the fact that it still fits into the musical landscape of what works right now just lets you know exactly how far ahead of the game they were. I mean, as much as I love these other groups, nobody has had an influence out of the South that can still be heard in the culture today like the 3-6 Mafia. It is
the more
what
I
it
thought
is.
about it, man, like the more I thought about it, they have to be a finalist. That at minimum a finalist in my
not just the finalists, they are the final. They're the winners. You put on a 3-6 Mafia song for people who are 25 years old, and it still works in a way that
it's the energy.
Know, as much as I love 8-Ball and MJG, like, they, you know, there's stuff that they did in the 90s. It's not gonna move the crowd the same way. Like, those 3-6 Mafia songs have,
you can drop some 8-Ball here.
Thickness.
You know, especially being in the clubs in Naptown, you could drop some 8-Ball MJG here and it would go nuts. Now, 8-Ball MJG opened up the Outkast concert, the last one they had in Atlanta.
Yeah.
And I tell you, when they opened up for Outkast and they dropped what was the first song they came out to? I want to say Don't Make.
Okay.
You should have seen the whole crowd when that song came on.
Yeah.
Atlanta. And you know what it does here. So
yeah.
I don't know. But yeah, I'm with y'all when you're right. 3-6 Mafia definitely has a sound that people are still using and mimicking to this day. Outkast was a whole different type of energy.
Yeah, that you can't, you're not about to just go, you're not about to just go and try to duplicate organized noise. It ain't gonna happen, fam. It's just I don't see that working for you. You're not gonna pull that off well. Lone, talk to me, man. Or are you gonna give me or is that coming? I'm just asking. Do you have any
it's not coming. Yeah, for sure. I don't agree with 3-6 Mafia, but the reason I don't agree with 3-6 Mafia is because I feel the argument is being made from one very particular angle.
Okay.
And I feel like this type of question in general, there is not one answer to it. I mean, we're trying to come to an absolute answer to it, and I'm not trying to deny 3-6 Mafia by any means, but depending on who we're talking about, and we're depending on what type of influence we're talking about. Are we talking about artistic influence, or are we talking about influence on what people like?
Okay.
I think that it goes multiple ways. It's undeniable, in my opinion, that I'm trying to articulate this in an appropriate way here, but we can say that 3 6 Mafia still has and still is, or maybe they're king right now with their influence.
Okay.
But was their influence in the last 10 to 15 years as big as it is right now? Would you say that?
That's a good question.
Is it as big right now?
Yes. Or is it
Yeah.
something that something
bigger now.
When I listen-
okay.
And I know there's the conversation we've had about what does the club factor into hip hop culture, but like when I hear the biggest song in the club right now, I hear a 3 6 Mafia record. That 𝗏𝗡𝗄 that's a 3 6 Mafia
Go ahead,
record
Lance.
all day.
3 6 Mafia.
Yeah. For sure. Okay.
Content and when
again,
the beat, I was like, yeah, Paul might could have done that.
Go
and
ahead.
I don't
Lon,
want
make your point.
I don't want to take away from 3 6. That's not my intent here. I think what my main goal of speaking on this is that I feel like the Ghetto Boys have such a huge influence. I feel like No Limit has such a huge influence. I feel like Outkast has such a huge influence. I feel like 2 Live Crew has such a huge influence. I feel like Little Brother, obviously not as big as them, but like in so many different circles.
Cash
the
Money.
South,
Yeah, definitely.
Exactly. I didn't even mention Cash Money, but the South is so big, and there's so many different sounds within this in the South that we're used to. We're used to mentioning the same 4 or 5 groups or whatever, but they're all from different regions.
Texas. You can literally just use Texas as far as an influence overall down south, because you got so many different groups and sounds out of Texas. Ghetto Boys being one of them.
Yeah.
Yep.
It's crazy. UGK, another one, and that's why I couldn't really pinpoint who's the most influential. Now, to Jay Moore's point, as far as what's most popular right now, that 3 6 Mafia sound, hands down,
Right.
For sure.
When you're talking about, I know what you're getting at as far as and different avenues of influence. So I understand what you're saying, because I'm kind of torn with that too.
Yeah, I mean, like, I feel like even though we don't hear a ton of like the Outkast sound, it's hard to gauge that because their sound was so unique. When we think about the Love Below and Speaker Box,
Yeah.
we haven't heard anything that sounds like the Love Below ever. But
Hell no.
But at the same time, I was heavily influenced by that album. So, you know what I mean? Like it was a big record, and Outkast. And then when you factor in Organized Noise, I feel like they've had the most universal appeal, but you guys make extremely strong arguments for 3 6. And that's, man, the Lil Waynes of the world and the Cash Moneys and the Master P's, like, it's so huge. So for me, it's just hard to pinpoint, like, to say, like, Outkast is the biggest, or 3 6, or UGK, or whoever. It's
almost like one of them things where we would have to have a scientific breakdown, like we did the artists.
Nah, for sure.
Who is actually the most influential? Because when you talk about Outkast, and that name keeps coming up because it's a lot of our favorite group. Outkast influenced people to be more creative. For us being stuck in that same lane, I would say. So that's more of a universal influence versus a sound influence. But when you're talking about a sound influence, you have to go about it a different way, which is what brings 3 6 Mafia into the fold, because those type beats and that drive is very relevant right now.
Right. Even with I brought up Cash Money. On the post, I started to see, some of the similar names, same names start to pop up. But to Lone's point, I saw people list like 5 names. Like,
Let's all make fun of Mike while he's frozen.
He didn't have his
Yeah.
Might need to give him his Snickers.
Well, that's what That's what happens when you get that Boost mobile internet.
Don't do that.
Y'all heard that?
Terry be the main one, man. Don't do that.
See, I didn't even say much that time.
Why you got to do all that?
All right, back to what I was saying. Hey, y'all not right, man. But I saw people posting like 5 names instead of 1. To Lone's point, because there are so many different types of influences. But Cash Money, man, you think about them, No Limit, just as a conglomerate, those labels like huge. Like Manny Fresh, what?
Yeah.
Like it's a lot. Manny Fresh got a lot of kids running around here from a production standpoint. A lot. You know what I'm saying? So
those are 2 strong record labels when you talk about Cash Money and No Limit they're both from New Orleans.
Yeah. Yeah.
But even when I'm talking about, that Memphis
sound
boy,
is different though.
I mean, because that Memphis sound made it all the is took over the country, and is still running the like people are from Ray Shrimmer to like people from the East Coast, the West Coast, they all taken off. Of,
ASAP Rocky,
ASAP Rocky,
right now
came out. You could arguably state that his sound was influenced by 3 6 Mafia, or you could take it to Midwest and say Bone Thugs and Harmony. But those were the only 2 that you could say.
He said it though. He said it in the interview, even with them being from where they're from. He said he used to listen to that, a lot of it. You know what I'm saying? And it came out in the music. To your point. So yeah, man, it's an interesting topic, man. It's interesting conversation because it's to Lone hit the nail on the head when you talk about how big the South is, and like you said with Texas alone, Terry, like there's just a lot of music down there, man. But people like Manny Fresh and Paul, like they got to get their flowers, man, from a production standpoint.
We didn't even talk about the DJ Screw influence.
True,
right?
True,
Texas, yeah,
true. Yep.
I mean,
that's another one.
I mean, technically, Primo's from Texas, right? So
yes.
Hey, you're gonna do that, shout out to Prairie View.
I mean, if we want to go down that road, you know what I'm saying? We want to go down that road.
The DLC is as well.
If you've enjoyed this segment from the New Old Heads podcast, make sure to join our live chat every Tuesday from 9 to 11 p.m. Eastern at youtube.com/New Old Heads Network. Make sure to subscribe and hit that bell for notifications. We also invite you to join our private Discord community at newoldheads.com/community.